Hello friends, welcome back for another part of our Frosty DLC run. This is the base game in the DLC. We did the spaced out in the DLC a little bit earlier, but it was the beta version, so this is the actual full version. The rules for this run are as follows. I have to play on the Frosty DLC. We have to get every achievement that we possibly can. I'm still not sure if one of them is possible. And we also have to take every single duplicant on offer until we are at 100. So we are on our way to doing that. We're at 26 duplicants on cycle 71. Since the last video, there's only been like one cycle that's passed. And I was going to go a little bit further, but as far as progress on our carnivore achievement, we are almost done. So I'm going to take a wild guess, that's not really a wild guess, and say that this DLC definitely makes this achievement a lot easier because we are really taxing ourselves in a lot of different ways, and we've been setting up and making some good strategic decisions around these behemoths, but there's been very minimal investment into getting this achievement thus far. So I think we're doing a pretty good job. I think we're on a good trajectory, but you know, the game could get pretty crazy as we continue to take duplicants because we're just barely a fourth of the way there. So for this video, we talked a lot about we need to get our shipping up. Let me check to see our skills and see how many people we have that can build this right now. It looks like only one. I might need to put down some skill scrubbers and scrub a few duplicants so that they can specialize in this mechatronics engineering. But the idea of the shipping, for one, is that our duplicants that are here, we have to manually remember to grab everything that's supposed to be exchanged between these two sides. And that's really not sustainable in the long term. So I want to get shipping up, one, for that, and for two, to keep a constant flow of supplies in the base so that we can keep this area cool without needing to invest in any other tech, because the map itself is extremely cold and there is a lot of material out here. So if I can get all of this material focused on the central point where we really need it to be cold, and we need it to be cold because... who's starving? What's going on? Because you gotta pee? Yeah, okay. I don't remember what I was saying now. Rowan, you distracted me with your bladder. Don't ever say that to someone in real life. Anyway, so the center of our base needs to remain pretty cold because the target temperature for this food and for these critters is down in those areas. The critters can obviously sustain a lot more than the plants, but the critters can't eat if the plants aren't growing, so we definitely need to keep it cool inside here. And we're going to do most of that with shipping. So let's talk about generally the setup for shipping and also the setup of our base. For one, I kind of forgot about a nature reserve. So we do need to get at least a few nature reserves for the achievement, which we might just do in this one because we already have a few rooms that are already blocked off from all of our natural ranching that have enough plants. So we could at least knock that achievement out pretty quickly. But I do want a nature reserve that's pretty centralized to everything that we're doing, so that our duplicants are getting a little bit extra morale, and therefore they can handle more skills and be able to do more things a whole lot better. So the idea is we're probably going to set up our nature reserve here, so I need to not destroy any of this stuff, at least not quite yet. And we will need to build a lot of the dupes infrastructure around this nature reserve so that they're constantly passing through this as they're doing things. Usually making them pass through before they go to eat is a good idea. That'll get them to have the buff for most of the day. If you can get them to go through there for anything else, like the bathrooms or something like that, or if you have multiple nature reserves and you can pull something like that off, that's pretty handy. But it can get pretty awkward at this phase of the game. I could also put another nature reserve down here and then put on my bathroom somewhere, so I might actually just make two, just to hopefully help the buff last all day for all my duplicants. Anyway, I'm really off track here, but the whole point is that I need to plan out the spots in my base that I want to preserve for these nature reserves, and the rest I need to set up shipping so that we can start moving stuff around a lot more efficiently than our duplicants doing it by hand. So I think we're probably going to set up our shipping somewhere around here, somewhere very central to the base, and also somewhere that's kind of far away from a lot of really busy areas. So I don't want it to have to be passing like 20 shipping lines through a room that already has shipping lines expected to be built in it. So All we need to do from here is basically look around at anywhere that would benefit from shipping, and especially things that need to be shared in the middle. So I will probably start out building our shipping infrastructure in here first, so that any supplies that these duplicants make, such as this coat, which we could definitely use, are shipped down to a central point. So I'll ship them all out, and they'll probably land over here. And then this will be where we sort everything, and a lot of the materials are also going to be shipped back. So let's set up something pretty quickly on this side. All we're really going to need is an auto sweeper to declare kind of the room that we're going to be taking up for this. Oh, I still need research for this. Well, I guess I got too far ahead of myself because I don't quite have all the research that I need for this yet. I also still don't have our ice liquefier, which I think we're just waiting on metal that we probably don't have in here. So let me get the research finished up. I feel like this happened in the last run too. I forgot to keep my research up, and then we got to the point where we needed shipping, and I was like, By the way, this should be the carnivore achievement, so... Yes! Alright, this is definitely a lot smoother than the Ultra Supreme Max difficulty version, and there was a reason that run was extremely hard. This one definitely makes it a lot easier, so we're pretty much out of the woods for a lot of those. Super sustainable we're going to have to hang on to for a little while, which really will only block us from like ethanol power and wood. By the way, I need to just double down on this. Why is there constantly a tooltip for this when I hover over it? I know they haven't fulfilled this initiative because it's grayed out. I don't need this tooltip. It always blocks the text. Alright, anyway. And especially if it's already open. Like, if it's not open and you have this to let them know to click it, if it went away now, like, that's much better. Okay, whatever. I'm done with that rant. They just need to fix that. So let me get my research done. Research will probably finish around the same time that we're ready for another duplicant print. And then we will start getting all of our infrastructure set up for shipping. I'm not sure if I'm going to montage all the shipping stuff because it's really kind of routine. I'll just talk through the different mechanics of it for any players that are fairly new or just want a little bit of a refresher on some of this stuff. But yeah, in the meantime, I will just be having my duplicants move stuff manually and maybe plotting out a couple of other spots we might want to use for other inner base stuff. So anyway, I'll do that. I'll be back. All right, next duplicant. Let's see. Max looks good. Building, digging, can't research. I don't care about that. Doesn't need a code. Okay, that's a really good deal. Hello, Max. All right. So we've got our research done. Let's start planning out our shipping setup. So, like I was saying before, I so rudely interrupted myself. The idea is we're going to have this auto sweeper sort out basically everything that we need shipped to different places. And we will be sending everything to this one central location in range of one of these auto sweepers so that it can dictate where things are supposed to go. So for example, some stuff that we might need in the middle area here, or at least accessible by these duplicants. We know we need like rust and salt are a couple things. By the way, these duplicants are having a really hard time because it's taking them forever to bring the salt, which is another huge problem of all this shipping. So let me just target only the salt so it can get over there. Where is it? There we go. Sweep, sweep, sweep. You can see how annoying this would be to do by hand. So we're definitely going to work on solving this as soon as we can. These duplicants are stuck. Let me let them out. So we're going to be shipping everything to a central location, and then for all the stuff that we might need over in this other colony, we will probably need to do a couple of things. I think we will need to list a whole bunch of conveyor loaders with different things that will need to be shipped over there. So like, let's say this is for rust and salt, for example. We will also need one for any type of foods that are supposed to be cooked. And this might turn into 5 or 6 or 7 different conveyor loaders, depending on the supplies that we need to send over there. If we need any iron to be crushed or anything like that, or mammoth patties, we will want to start to send those over as well. So we will start to just make a line of conveyor loaders here that will all be shipping over to a central location here. And then on this side, we can use a couple of different tricks. I did talk about this in the last run just a bit, so I'm going to go a little bit fast. Basically, you can put down weight plates that will send automation signals to let you know if you need more of a certain type of supply. So the two that we know we need for sure are rust and salt. So I'm going to put 2 weight plates right here that are just for rust and salt that will tell us if we actually need more. And then those will activate the conveyor loaders. If we can use the, where is this? Automation ribbon. I'll start researching that. That's an easier way to send a whole bunch of signals from one place to another. And we might need, you know, like 8 different ones of these, depending on what kind of stuff we're expecting to send. Geez, we really need this salt over here. Yet again, one of the problems with going all the way down here and not really having a great source of oxygen. Also a problem with having all of your duplicants trying to do this at the same time. But anyway, so I will start setting up all of the systems to ship new supplies to this location, and we'll base them off of weight plates. And then with the conveyor chute, actually, do we have the ability to research everything that we need yet? I think we do. Because the last thing that we're going to need is the piece of automation that's going to tell us what type of item is on the line so it can drop it off. Yeah, it's going to be down in here. So this might take a little while to research, but our research was pretty quick. I think we should be able to get through it pretty fast. So I'll start setting up at least the infrastructure for that. The other thing that we could start getting that would really help us is set up some shipping that can ship from the bottom of the base. So anywhere that's kind of far away for your duplicants to have to run supplies from, we could drop something like this and just put some conveyor loaders, or even just one in the middle, and ship that all the way back to the center. Same thing goes for pretty much anything else that you might want to distribute in this way. So we're going to get a whole bunch of infrastructure around stuff to be sent in different places. Like, for example, we will want stuff in here to either ship supplies back and forth for like plant food, or if one of these guys lays an egg, we're going to want to get it out of the room. So stuff like that. So I will start setting up a whole bunch of different shipping systems, and we'll talk over a few of them when we get there. We're not going to belabor this too much, hopefully, but this is an important step that's going to save us a lot of time. So I'll get started. Okay, time for another duplicant. Got Liera on the mind here. Yeah, increased machinery. Can't attack. That's like one of the best downsides. Plenty of people to do our attacking for us. Alright, Liera, get in here. Cool. I did skill scrub a couple more people so that we could get them working on all of our shipping. Shipping is still in progress, so we will be getting our research and we'll be getting some of our infrastructure up here in just a bit. When it's time to actually like build out all of the automation for this, I will get it done. I'm also trying to build a couple of extra buildings here just to hopefully get this researched a little bit faster if I can. And alleviate some time from Stinky. So we'll be there in just a bit, and we'll start getting some of these setups going. And when it's time to put all of it together, we'll come back. Alright, time for the next duplicant. Let's see, don't want narcoleptic, don't want anemic, so I guess we are defaulting into Ari, even though they do not build stuff. That's still not the worst, it's athletics. I think we'll put them on supplying, so I'm just have them specialize. There we go. Ari, get in here. Thank you, and goodbye. Alright, still making progress on getting all the shipping stuff up, but I'm going to talk about our Great Hall setup here. So I did talk a little bit about the nature reserve stuff. So we have one here and one to exit the bathrooms. So if you ever want the duplicant to eat food, you can just make them pass through a nature reserve in order to get there. So they're going to want to eat at their Great Hall or at their mess tables anyway. So I'm just going to create 2 huge lines of tables for our duplicants, and they will eventually move into all these once we delete the other ones. We'll also have a huge colony out here, so I'm trying to set it up so that this is kind of like the center room, this nature reserve. And then they need to take ladders to get to whatever Great Hall they actually eat in. So I'm just going to set up something like that. We will expand up here with the rest of our Great Halls once we get enough duplicants, but that's the idea. So just going to add the buildings that we need in order to make this a Great Hall. A couple of pots. There we go. And that ought to do it. And then you can just make it so that they cannot enter the Great Hall through these doors. They can only enter through the ones up here. So let's see. They can't go right there. So now they cannot ever go through this door to get into the Great Hall. They can only use it to exit. So they have to pass through the nature reserve in order to get there. So we've got that going. We just need a little bit more refined metal and a little bit more research, and we'll be ready to set up the rest of the shipping stuff. They just keep on coming. Here's duplicant number 30. What do we need? We don't really need researching. We have plenty of people for that. I am kind of interested in Bert, only for the athletics, so... yeah. Hello, Bert. Get in the colony. Alright, let's talk about a basic shipping setup pretty quickly here. So basic shipping setup just has a few different basic parts. It's just a combination of auto sweepers and conveyor loaders, and they will put stuff on the rail and ship it all back to one location. I should probably make this 2 different lines so that more stuff can get sent through. So let me split this into a second line. There we go. The stuff that I need shipped out of here is really everything except for the food that they're going to eat. So any eggs or anything like that will definitely need to be shipped back to one location. The other part of this... oh, we have an achievement. Let's see what this is. There we go. Inspecting facility ruins. Recovering a database entry by doing so. I don't remember doing that, but I guess I did. Let's see. Oh, the other thing. We need to figure out a way to ship supplies back to this side of the colony whenever they are running out of them. So I might not want to send all of my rust and salt here. I definitely need some, but I don't want to send all of it because then only this colony will be able to reach it. Or mini colony, whatever you want to call it. So what I'm going to do is put a weight plate down. And this weight plate is going to tell me when they need more of a certain type of supply. They can get rid of this. There we go. So let's start with just the rust and salt for the time being. So we're going to put up some conveyor rails, and I'll kind of snake it back and forth like this. This is where the destination is going to be. And it's snaked back and forth because we need 2 things. We need a point that we can check to see what is actually on the line. So we need a conveyor rail element sensor. And then if it is the thing that we're interested in, we need to open up the vent and allow the thing to drop on top of the weight plate. The weight plate is going to be a way for us to say, okay, yeah, we need more. So please send us more along this one line. It makes it so we don't need to send like 8 or 9 lines worth of stuff in here. We can just send it all on one. If the automation from this is hooked up to the actual conveyor loader that's going to be responsible for putting it on the line in the first place. So each of these weight plates will need to be connected to a ribbon rider. The ribbon riders are going to be useful to compact a whole bunch of automation lines down into a 1-tile ribbon like this. So if we have that, this ribbon can support 4 different things on it at once. So we could put 4 different weight plates and decide what kind of supplies that we need here. And then we can read the other end of this ribbon over here to determine which of those weight plates corresponds to which of these conveyor loaders. Let me get all that built. It's going to take a little bit because we need to refine a little bit more metal. But let me get that built and then we can see it in action after that's done. Okay, while we're waiting for more metal to be refined so we can finish up our shipping setup, I am expanding this area, and I'm starting to let duplicants from the main colony in here to help out. There's just not enough getting done here, and too much work required. So I'm going to have more duplicants move in here permanently. So we did move in, I think, Camille, and I want to say... who was the other one that we just added? We added 2 more duplicants to this Mima. We added those 2. We might add a 3rd. But I'm just expanding into a couple more rooms, another Great Hall, another place for them to sleep, and we just need more people here on a regular basis. Not enough power is getting generated, not enough refined metal is getting put out, so just having the duplicants from the main colony help out our little mini colony here for the time being. and then we will get on top of the needs for refined metal, and then we will get back to the shipping setup. Okay, they just keep coming. They don't stop. All right, let's choose our 31st duplicant. These are all pretty good, honestly. Operating, building, and suit wearing. Yeah, I think Catalina's probably the best one here, but it's pretty close. Quinn's also pretty good. What am I going to need the most going forward? Probably Catalina. All right, Catalina, get in the colony. We also have an achievement to clear, so let's do that. There we go, have a duplicant with the masterwork skill, paint a masterpiece quality painting. Let's see what got painted for us. Looks like we got Screaming Stinky. Yeah, no comment there. Here's something we haven't done before, take a new duplicant. Let's see, who do we want here? Got my eye on Harold right away. Definitely don't want Frankie. Yeah, I think we're going to take Harold for this one. There we go. Get into the colony. We're still trying to get our automation ribbon up, and the expansion in here is still going on. So I think when we get the rest of this set up, we can start talking about it. To be clear, this is only going to be one line for all of these bins that are going to be going up to the same place. So I can just draw this along the exact same place that the automation ribbon is coming along, and then eventually just plug it into the area where they're all going to get filtered and dropped off. But we'll configure it, and we'll see it running when it is all built. So I will come back when it's time for that. Alright, I wanted to bring you in on this part of the process because there is sometimes with these more weird runs, or if I'm learning something, there will be long periods where I'm sitting with just the game paused and looking around and trying to figure out what I should be doing next. I've never really talked about this before, but it is an important part of kind of like figuring out what I'm going to do. Like, I've been sitting here for about 10 to 15 minutes paused, just kind of scrolling around the map and figuring out, like, what do I need next? What am I short on? What is my build going to turn into? So my thoughts right now is our food situation isn't great. It's also not terrible. I also don't really like our oxygen situation right now. And the earlier we get up to the surface and start working with this, the better that we're going to have like a mid and later game setup. So there's a lot of things that I could do right now, or at least do next. And it's like trying to think about what I really need and what my production levels are of everything. I'm guessing there's probably some people that go even further with this and like get into their spreadsheets or start doing stuff like that to figure out what they think would be the most optimal thing to do right now, or kind of evaluating where they are. I will do nearly everything based upon just feeling it out, but these pauses and these long periods of just kind of looking around and seeing how things are operating and just thinking about stuff are very helpful to that, and that's not really something you would put into a video very often. So because I'm doing it now, I feel like it's probably a good time to talk about it. Anyway, let's get on with some of the things that we need to do for shipping here. So we have our automation ribbon coming all the way down. So let's start configuring this. So let's say this tile is meant to represent the rust that I need. So I want to put this looking for rust so that when something comes along the line, you can't really see the lines anymore, but it's basically like this. And if it evaluates the tile before and it sees that it's rust, it's going to open this vent and it'll fall down on top of this weight plate. This weight plate is going to say, hey, if I'm anywhere below, I don't know, even the maximum, then I want more rust. Same thing with this one, except for this one's going to be salt. So I want to set that to salt. For our automation riders, or rather ribbon riders, we want to select different numbers for these that's going to be what goes on the actual ribbon so that we can read on the other end. So this ribbon is going to be capable of sending 4 automation signals at a time. And I just need to remember that because it's aligned here, number 1 is going to be for rust, number 2 is going to be for salt. So if I have some bins over here, I can say, okay, then I want rust to be in the first one. Actually, what we should do, let me do it in this one. I'll explain why. So I want rust to be in this one, and I want salt to be in this one. We will also need some ribbon readers to see what is actually on the ribbon right now. So we're going to do something like this, read the ribbon for those 2, and plug them in. Then for both of these, when they ship something out, they're all connected to the same line. So the contents will come down the line, and it will be evaluated here, and it'll fall out if it's either salt or rust. If it's anything else on this line, it's just going to fall on the ground, and my duplicants inside here will start doing something with it. And that's what that third bin is for. That's not going to be hooked up to any sort of automation. This one's going to be for anything that we want to send in here all the time. And for an example of this, we're always going to have our cooking located in here. So we might want to always send like the meat that we get, or we might want to always send any tallow that we find, or anything like that, or sleet wheat grain, stuff like that. So anything that we know we want to ship in here for sure, let's just say tallow is an example, or let's say meat is an example. I will always put it on that line, and it will always get sent, and it'll just drop out of this last exit point here, and that's why I have it arranged. So this is basically like everything that needs to go in here. This is, and the reason I'm only sending part of my rust and salt in here is because there's going to be other places that rust and salt's going to be needed. If I ship all of my rust and salt in here, then the duplicants that are outside won't really have access to it, and that kind of defeats the purpose. So that's going to be the idea for shipping. I'm going to probably add a couple more things to this line. I'm probably going to also ask for iron, and typically you want to be able to build stuff while you're in here, so I might ask for granite or something like that. Not 100% sure. And I will also refine all the other stuff that we might need. So, for example, eggshells. We're always going to want those. We're always going to want mammoth patties. So I'll configure all this, and we'll see the working shipping setup here in just a bit. And then let's talk about one more thing, actually. One more thing is digging out new sections. So I just dug out this whole section here to help out my airflow, so that more of the gases that I don't want will sink down to my pump. But this is also going to be an opportunity for me to ship all this stuff back to the center and get some cooling use out of it, because this is all very cold material. So like -29, -35, all that fun stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ship this stuff back, but we are going to intentionally have this like snake back and forth through some areas that are a little bit warmed up. So if I do something like this, we'll drop some conveyor loaders here, and then we will run this on a separate line. It's like we'll do something like this. There we go. And we'll just run it up and through any other areas that we might want cooled down. So we can already see we're taking some hits for these plants right now because they're not cold enough. So if I have a bunch of cold stuff coming up on this line, I might snake it through these areas and just have it run through the tiles that are holding these plants to cool them down. So you can kind of do a 2-for-1 thing here. If you know you're going to need cooling and you have material that's already cooled, you can just kind of run it through some areas that you need cooled down, and that'll solve 2 problems at the same time. So that's another thing that I wanted to mention. I'm also going to mention with this shipping setup that I always like to put these on some timer sensors to make sure that we don't have these things running constantly and picking up material when it's not worth it. So the reason that I do this is because the conveyor loader can only send stuff out so fast. These can pick up a lot faster than the conveyor loaders can send, so I'm going to have these shut down for a majority of the time. For these two, they're both feeding just one conveyor loader, and the conveyor loader takes about 40 seconds to totally unload. I'm going to have my settings be a little bit different here because there's 2 conveyor loaders on one line. I'll usually do like 15 seconds on and 60 seconds off. Something like that. So yeah, a couple more shipping systems that we should probably get put in here. Like for here, we want to load this with ice and pull out any oxalite that gets dropped. So stuff like that. I'm going to start setting up a whole bunch of different shipping setups. We'll also talk about an egg setup that I've talked about a few times before, because we need to start getting the eggs out of here and hatching in their own little areas and distributed to different places. So I'll get that done off camera as well. Then we'll talk about the whole shipping system all running together before we close out this video. So let me get on top of that, and then we'll talk about it after. Okay, finally, we can talk about the shipping setup. So, our sorting area is looking about like this. We have a whole bunch of bins that go to a whole bunch of different places, and we'll talk about different parts of it. So, basic version of this. Let's talk about this. So, I did actually wind up moving these mammoths back into the same area where the plume squash plants are grown, and the phlox to the pike apple bushes. The reason why is I looked at these numbers a little bit more, and it seems like there's no difference for at least for the phlox, whether they eat the finished product or not. There is a slight difference for the mammoths. It's slightly more efficient for them to eat the plume squash, but I don't think it's worth the extra infrastructure that would be needed to make that smooth. So I just put them back in there mostly because it's easier. You could get that extra like 10% boost from feeding them the finished products, but the duplicant time alone is probably not super worth it. So I don't know. I'd rather have more duplicant time than the extra 10% or whatever that we're going to gain from feeding these mammoths. Maybe I'll change my mind later, but for right now, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So a shipping area is just going to be something simple like this. We're just going to grab all the stuff out of the room that we want, and for these ones, it's basically everything. I don't want anything sitting on the ground here. This room is a little bit different, where we have something that we need to feed into these pike apple bushes, which is phosphorite. So the phosphorite can come down and sit in these conveyor receptacles, and I'll use these receptacles because that's a good way to make sure that there's always phosphorite available here, but it's not all going to get dumped out on the floor. So we have that for these two rooms because they're both the same. I did make another phlox pen, which will populate in just a little bit. I'm more nervous about our food right now, so we will get on top of that. Same thing here, same principle anyway. By the way, our power is not hooked up, so they need to get this done. Same principle for this. We have ice coming in and sitting in the receptacles, and some auto sweepers that will load these with ice whenever they're ready. And then any contents that it's not ice will be pulled out of here and sent along the line. So that is the plan for this. I guess I should probably also mark these. There we go. So that's a pretty simple shipping setup. Let's take a look at the current state of this one. So the way that I have this set up is I'm asking for 4 different things. I need to move this out of the way. And this out of the way. Someone must have peed all over the place and made some blocks of ice. Hate it when that happens. So the 4 things that I'm going to be expecting here is granite, iron ore, salt, and rust. I need to set up some more shipping to actually populate our area with this, so we'll expand that in the next couple of videos. But as that stuff comes in, it'll be requested on this line. So the ribbon, you can see there's 4 basically wires that are all crammed together. And the 4th one is leading up to the granite because we already have enough granite. So the granite's the only one we're not asking for. The other 3 being iron, salt, and rust, they're all green. They're asking for it. So if anything comes by this area, once I start getting more stuff swept into the network, it'll automatically get loaded in there when we need more. Anything else that gets sent along that line is just going to drop out of this last chute, which we can expand out to like mammoth patties and eggshells and stuff like that. I'm sure that list will grow over time. But that's the state of this shipping area. Finally, and I've talked about this a bunch of times before, this looks like a lot, but let's just break it down by room. Each of these rooms is an area for any excess eggs that comes from my ranches to drop off and have extra critters here just to refill my ranches. If they're not needed in these rooms because there's already too many eggs in there, it will go past this area and it will either wind up as an egg inside some form of liquid. I'm just using mercury because that's the easiest one. And then the critter will hatch and immediately drown, and I will get the meat from that, and we'll move on with our lives. If it's not the critters that I want to be drowned, say like a phlox egg or a spigot seal egg or something, it's going to get dropped in here, and I will throw it into these egg crackers. And these egg crackers will be responsible for cracking basically everything that we come across, so I could just set these to forever. I just need to make sure that duplicants aren't allowed to bring it in from outside. So this is going to start being a lot more of a enforced barrier over time. I've been a little bit loose about letting them in and out of there to help with construction projects and stuff, but now that I have the eggs being cracked in here, I need to make sure that they do not come in and out of there willy-nilly. The other thing that we just got is a deep fryer. The deep fryer we can start using so that we can use up the extra plume squash that we get and turn them into fries. So that will help. Oh, by the way, the eggs is for these pancakes. These pancakes are way better than the frost buns. So I am saving up all the sleet wheat that I get for pancakes. Unless we are desperate for food, we will switch back to the frost buns. So as we get more production and eggs and stuff off of this, our food is going to change a little bit. We did talk about this a lot in a very similar fashion. We're actually running pretty low on food right now, so we might get a couple of instances of duplicants starving, but I'll make sure that they get fed before it gets too late. Yeah, we've talked about the pancakes before. The pancakes are definitely the ideal food for this type of situation, only because they use resources very efficiently. Only 2 units of sleet wheat and raw egg, which we're not really going to be doing anything with anyway, turns into 3,600, whereas frost buns only make 1,200 for 3 units of sleet wheat grain, so it's a way better trade. If it does get to this point, and I'm just going to keep an eye on their calories. This happened a couple times already. If their calories start getting around like 300 or 400, I will just allow them to eat certain types of food that I wouldn't otherwise, like this plume squash, for example. Otherwise, we're just waiting for it to get shipped and cooked and sent back out. The other part of this that I haven't talked about yet is the shipping out of done food. So when food's done, if there is not enough food sitting right here for all the duplicants that are on the inside, it will fall out and it will land on this. If not, it'll just continue to get shipped out and into the normal networks where it's going to go. For our food situation, which is not great right now, I did add a few more rows of pike apple bushes, which is the best we can do right now because we have a lot of extra phosphorite. So I'm just going to wait for those to get up to harvest, but our food situation is really not very good right now. But I did want to get all of the shipping and stuff set up so we can actually grow into this properly. So I know this is stressful having a duplicant starve. I will take care of it off camera, but it'll be told. Well, let's just do it on camera, whatever. Where are you, Freya? Yeah, you're allowed to eat pike apples now. Go get it. So that is the shipping plan, and I think that's going to be pretty much it for this episode. The only thing other thing that we need to do is start sending all of our actual critter eggs down this line so they can go to the right places. So, whole bunch of phlox eggs here. It's just going to get shipped out. I did want to show this because this is one of the more complicated setups. Why are you not eating? Okay, hurry up. Also, wait, what are you doing? Oh, can't eat now even though I'm starving. I have to go to the bathroom. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, anyway, let's watch these eggs come down this line, by the way. So the eggs are basically going to be going into one of these rooms, depending on how many critters or eggs we have into here. So the setup is, as this comes across these conveyor rail element sensors, it's going to be checking for phlox eggs, and it's also going to check how many eggs are currently in here right now. And if there were anywhere below 6, it's going to fall into this room. If it's beyond 6, it's just going to keep going up the line and eventually will land in my kitchen. So that is how that shipping works, basically. I've talked about this a few times and in much more detail in other videos, so definitely check that out if you're curious. Alright, I did not mean for this video to last this long, but it has. Nevertheless, I think we're going to call it here. So thank you very much for watching. I don't think I will get the next video out by tomorrow. I'll do my best, but if not, it'll more than likely come out the next day. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next episode.